In Chapter 1, Survival, the novel opens with Drake reflecting on the current state of his career and his growing paranoia about the rumors linking him to XXXTentacion's murder. In the next chapter, Nonstop, Drake prepares for a major performance. He becomes increasingly agitated by the growing media scrutiny and the whispers behind the scenes. Following this, in a private conversation with his closest confidants, Drake admits that he was indeed responsible for XXXTentacion's death, citing jealousy and competition as his motives. In the next chapter, Emotionless, Drake's sense of invincibility and entitlement is shaken when he learns that law enforcement officials are now investigating him for the murder. In God's plan, the investigation heats up. Drake hires a high-powered legal team to defend him and plots his next moves in the rap game. In the next chapter, I'm Upset, despite his outward confidence, Drake begins to feel the weight of his actions and the guilt of taking another rapper's life. In Chapter 8 out of 10, in a candid interview, Drake admits to his wrongdoing and attempts to justify his actions as part of the cutthroat nature of the music industry. In the next chapter, Mob Ties, tensions rise between Drake and his former allies, who begin to distance themselves from him as the investigation progresses. Chapter 9, Can't Take a Joke, the media circus around the murder case intensifies, with Drake's every move being dissected and analyzed. In the next chapter, Sandra's Rose, in a rare moment of introspection, Drake reflects on his upbringing and how it may have contributed to his present-day actions. Following this, in Talk Up, as Drake's legal team prepares to go to trial, he finds himself facing new accusations and threats from other rappers who view him as a threat. In the next chapter, Is There More?, the trial begins, with Drake facing intense scrutiny and public backlash. In Chapter 13, Don't Matter to Me, as the trial continues, Drake begins to question whether his fame and success are worth the toll they have taken on his personal life. In the next chapter, In My Feelings, in the aftermath of the trial, Drake retreats from the spotlight and begins to grapple with the consequences of his actions. In Chapter 15, Final Fantasy, the novel concludes with Drake's ultimate fate left unresolved, as he continues to grapple with the fallout from his decisions and the uncertain future that lies ahead. Chapter 1, Survival, the bright lights of the stage flickered to life as the crowd roared in anticipation. Drake stood backstage, his heart racing with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. He had performed on countless stages over the years, but something felt different tonight. Rumblings in the rap game were starting to implicate Drake in the murder of a young and upcoming rapper, XXXTentacion. Drake's thoughts were consumed by the rumors that had been swirling around him for weeks. He had tried to deny them at first, but the more he heard, the more he began to believe that the accusations might be true. The memory of other murders involving rappers, like Tupac and Biggie, flashed through his mind, and he couldn't help but wonder if he would be the next victim of the rap game. Baka, his concert manager, approached him, sensing his unease. "You ready for this, Drizzy?" he asked, a look of concern etched on his face. Drake hesitated for a moment before nodding. "Yeah, let's do this," he said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. As he walked out onto the stage, the crowd erupted into a frenzy of cheers and applause. Drake tried to focus on the music and the performance, but his mind kept wandering back to the rumors. His lyrics, once full of bravado and swagger, now seemed to betray his true feelings. "Trying to keep it peaceful is a struggle for me. Don't pull up at 6 a.m. to cuddle with me. You know how I like it when you lovin' on me." As he rapped, he couldn't help but wonder if he was being watched. Were there undercover cops in the audience, waiting to arrest him for a crime he didn't commit? Were there rival rappers waiting to take him out as revenge for XXXTentacion's death? The paranoia was starting to eat away at him, and he could feel his grip on reality slipping. He thought about canceling the show, about disappearing from the public eye, but he knew that would only fuel the rumors. After the show, Baka found Drake sitting alone in his dressing room, staring blankly at the wall. "What's going on, man?" he asked, taking a seat next to him. Drake took a deep breath before finally speaking. "Baka, you ever think about what happened to Tupac and Biggie? How they were killed over something stupid, something that didn't even have to do with the music?" Baka nodded, a somber expression on his face. "Yeah, it's messed up. But you can't let that stuff get to you, Drizzy. You gotta keep your head up, keep making music, keep doing what you do best." Drake leaned back in his chair, closing his eyes. "I don't know, man. It feels like I'm living in a nightmare. Like everything I've worked for could be taken away from me at any moment." Baka put a hand on his shoulder, his voice softening. "Hey, listen to me. You're the greatest rapper of our generation, maybe of all time. Nothing can take that away from you, not even this. We'll get through this together, I promise." Drake looked at Baka, gratitude and vulnerability in his eyes. "Thanks, man. I don't know what I'd do without you." They sat in silence for a few moments, both lost in thought. Finally, Drake stood up, his resolve firming. "You're right, Baca. I can't let this get to me. I have to keep going, keep making music, keep performing." Baca stood up with him, a smile spreading across his face. "That's the spirit, Drizzy. You're a fighter, always have been." Drake couldn't help but smile at Baca's words. He knew he had to keep fighting, no matter what the rumors or the press said about him. He owed it to his fans, his family, and himself. As they left the dressing room, the sounds of the crowd still ringing in their ears, Drake felt a newfound sense of confidence. He knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, but he was ready to face it head-on. The next few days were a blur of interviews, rehearsals, and performances. Everywhere he went, Drake could feel the weight of the accusations pressing down on him. But he kept pushing forward, writing new songs, collaborating with other artists, and trying to stay one step ahead of the rumors. In one interview, a journalist asked directly about the allegations, and for a moment, Drake froze. He could feel the sweat on his palms, the lump in his throat. But then he remembered what Baca had told him about being a fighter, and he answered the question honestly. "Yeah, there have been some rumors going around," he said, his voice steady. "But I can't really say much about it. All I can do is keep making music, keep performing for my fans, and hope that the truth comes out eventually." The journalist nodded, seeming satisfied with his response, and moved on to the next question. But Drake could feel the eyes of the world on him, wondering if he was guilty, wondering if he was hiding something. As the days turned into weeks, the pressure only grew. Drake could barely leave his house without being mobbed by fans and paparazzi, all wanting a piece of him, all wanting to know the truth. But through it all, he kept going. He kept writing, kept performing, kept pushing himself to be the best he could be. And slowly but surely, the rumors started to die down. The police investigation found no evidence linking him to the murder, and the media moved on to other stories. It wasn't easy, but Drake had survived. And he knew that no matter what the future held, he would always be a fighter, always be a survivor.